Bill Maher is one of the most ignorant atheists out there. He spent years mocking Christianity and dismissing the claim of the gospel, such as the resurrection, miracle, and now he's questioning whether Jesus was a real historical person. I mean, you have to see it to believe it. Take a look.
I mean, I don't know what your relationship is with Mr. Jesus Christ, but just for example, like, I know people get upset.
I watched your fucking movie. Trust me. Trust me. As a dude who has hardcore panic and rituals through religion, I watched it and I was like, someone switch him.
Yeah, but like, we don't know if there was a historical Jesus. There could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think he's God, okay, well, then that's a whole different discussion, and it's not a discussion at all, it's a belief. But, like, was there a historical Jesus? I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, how dare you even ask that question? Of course there was. No, not of course. There may have been. There may have been an actual Jesus, and it may have been a completely fictional character.
Yeah.
But that's everything from... No, there are some things we know. There are records. We know there was a Julius Caesar. There absolutely was.
Absolutely was.
Of course. And there was a Nero, and there was a Charlemagne, and, there are many people we do know that Cleopatra, these people did exist, for sure. They can't all have been lying. And but...
Wait, so we don't... Like, this sounds crazy. I can't believe I'm going to ask this. So we don't have, like, proof there actually was a Jesus?
No, I mean, all we have is 5 people talking about it. And what's suspect is this. Jesus...
I don't know who the other guy is, but he needs to do his own research because Bill Maher is not being honest here. It's not just 5 people that wrote about Jesus. The Jewish historian Josephus wrote about Jesus and says he was crucified by Pontius Pilate. Of course, you have the gospel and Paul and Peter and so on. So I don't know what Bill is talking about, but let's continue to see what else he has to say.
You're going to fuck me up now. You're going to fuck me up.
I hope so. Jesus dies in 33 AD, right? I mean, we started counting at time. It was one of my first jokes. Like, boy, you're big when they start counting time again. Followed by, I'm still writing 0 on my checks in the year 1. That was another joke I had in my very first 5 minutes. Okay, so he dies in 33.
He dies at 33.
What? He does.
I know, because he was 33. And you said that, and I was like, why 33?
33 AD?
Yeah. 33, yeah. He died at 33.
Right, he dies at 33. Now, this is according to the Gospels.
That song. We're going to party like it's 33.
Right. The Gospels are written from 70 AD to 110 AD. And so none of the gospel writers were contemporaneous with Jesus.
Yeah.
They didn't know him. People think that because some of their names as the apostles, but they were not.
And you didn't live, no one lived 70 years back then.
Yeah, sure they did. Absolutely.
Did they? Oh,
yes.
Abraham.
No, the Greek playwrights lived into their 90s. I mean, the normal human lifespan, if you don't pollute your body, or yes, back then you could get a splinter and die from that, but their immune systems were so much better. You could live to 100 easily, and some of them did. No, of course, many didn't because you had to, get kicked by a horse, or there were diseases that they didn't know what to do with, plagues. But yeah, you could. So. No, I'm talking 70 AD is what I'm talking about. That's when the first gospel is written. That's the Gospel of Mark. So he didn't know Jesus. Either did Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. None of them knew Jesus. Those books were written from 70 to 110 AD.
Wow.
They were not. St. Paul, he lives 20 years earlier than the gospel writers, much closer to Jesus' age. He's writing in the 50s. With the leather jackets? No. No, I'm talking about Happy Day. No. I'm talking about actual 50s. And he knows nothing about Jesus. The gospel writers have all this information about the manger and, like the father, the mother, the carpenter, all this biographical detail. St. Paul doesn't even imagine that he lived on earth. He's just like a godlike figure, okay? So it's odd that the people who seem to know Jesus better lived much later. And the person who could have been aware of Jesus in the flesh, St. Paul in the 50s, he doesn't even think Jesus is a humanly figure. It's very odd.
It is a fact. Jesus was a real historical person, and the gospel were written by eyewitnesses who saw Jesus die on the cross and was resurrected on the third day, and they wrote about it. This man, Bill Maher, doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know how history works. Even Bud Ehrman, who is an atheist and a New Testament scholar, says Jesus existed. Take a look.
I do not see evidence in archaeology or history for a historical Jesus.
Yeah, well, I do. I mean, that's why I wrote the book. Well, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, I have a whole book on it. I mean, so there is a lot of evidence. I mean, there is so much evidence that it is not. I mean, I know in the crowds you all run around with, it's commonly thought that Jesus did not exist. Let me tell you, once you get outside of your conclave, there's nobody who. I mean, this is not even an issue for scholars of antiquity. It is not an issue for scholars. There is no scholar in any college or university in the Western world who teaches classics, ancient history, New Testament, early Christianity, any related field who doubts that Jesus existed. Now, that is not evidence. That is not evidence. Just because everybody thinks so doesn't make it evidence. But if you want to know about the theory of evolution versus the theory of creationism, and every scholar in every reputable institution in the world believes in evolution, it may not be evidence, but if you've got a different opinion, you better have a pretty good piece of evidence yourself. The reason for thinking Jesus existed is because he is abundantly attested in early sources. That's why. And I give the details in my book. Early and independent sources indicate that certainly that Jesus existed. One author that we know about knew Jesus' brother and knew Jesus' closest disciple, Peter. He's an eyewitness to both Jesus' closest disciple and his brother. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but again, I respect your disbelief, but if you want to go where the evidence goes, I think that atheists have done themselves a disservice by jumping on the bandwagon of mythicism, because, frankly, it makes you look foolish to the outside world.
And I agree with that. Bill Maher needs to pick up a history book and learn how history works. Jesus was a real historical person. You may not believe in him as the Son of God, as the Messiah, or all the miracle that is in the gospel. That's a separate argument. But to deny his existence, to doubt that, then it makes you look foolish, like Butterman says. If you like this video, please consider like it and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. May God bless you.